Street epistemology is a movement started by Dr. Peter Boghossian, a professor at Portland State University. In 2013, he published a book called A Manual for Creating Atheists, which defines street epistemology as a dialectical intervention to disabuse people of unreliable epistemology. A less technical definition is a way of talking people out of unreasonable beliefs. It can be applied to religious or political beliefs, pseudoscience, superstition, conspiracy theories, you name it. But today, we'll talk about it primarily in the context of religious beliefs. Anthony Magnabosco is a street epistemologist who began recording his interventions and posting them on YouTube. He's been doing this for the last 2 years. We found his channel and got involved in the movement. This 30-second promotional video by Anthony will show you how using the techniques of street epistemology can help people see that confidence in their beliefs may be unjustified.
100% is I'm 100% confident that my belief in this God is true. And 0% is I have no confidence that my belief in this God is true. And you could be anywhere on the scale. Where would you be on that, please?
I think right now I'm at 100.
Wow.
Pretty darn certain.
100%. I mean, you can't get any higher than that. Have you ever reflected on why you're so high on the confidence that the belief is true?
Well, I guess, yeah, you'd have to not be 100% certain if you were accepting the possibility that you might be wrong. I see what you're saying.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
Today we'll discuss epistemology, knowledge, and faith. First, we'll define some terms so we can have a common understanding. Next, we'll review the Socratic method and apply it to street epistemology. Then, we'll show some video clips to demonstrate our interpretation of the method. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. We ask questions like, what is knowledge? How is knowledge acquired? And what can people actually know? Now, these questions have been disputed by philosophers since the beginning of recorded history, and I don't expect to resolve them today. But we can think about this as we examine our knowledge claims. Another important concept is how people learn and revise beliefs. Doxa is the ancient Greek word for common belief or popular opinion. When combined with the description of being open or closed, we're talking about whether a person is willing to revise their beliefs or opinions based on new information. We all have beliefs that aren't warranted by evidence. Maybe there's not enough evidence, or maybe we choose to believe something against the evidence for personal reasons. The question street epistemology asks is, are you open to revising your beliefs based on new evidence or reasoning? Are you committed to a belief despite evidence to the contrary? Is there any evidence you would accept that might show your belief is mistaken? This leads us to the last concept, faith. What is faith? Believers define faith in varying ways, but it usually involves believing in something without evidence, or even despite evidence to the contrary. Here are some definitions I found on the internet. Faith is like the wind. You can't see it, but you know it's there. Faith is like Wi-Fi. It's invisible, but it has the power to connect you to what you need. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. People act as if their beliefs are true. Some cultures wage war on faith claims, but they're more confident in their beliefs than warranted by the evidence. If we had sufficient evidence for something, we wouldn't need to use faith to believe it. This leads Dr. Boghossian to defining faith as pretending to know things you don't know. Believers usually don't like this definition, but it's useful for us to understand in order to analyze faith as an epistemology. So what's wrong with this? If faith is pretending to know things you don't know, can it be a reliable way of knowing about the world and making decisions in life? One way we can determine if we're using a reliable way of knowing things is to ask, is there any evidence I would accept that might show my belief is mistaken? Are my beliefs falsifiable? Can they be tested? Of course, we don't have perfect evidence on any topic, but this is a simple test to find out if we're doxastically open or closed. Dr. Boghossian envisions a world in which faith is no longer considered a virtue. Instead, we should base our philosophical beliefs about human nature, morality, and ethics on evidence and reason. One way to engage people in the pursuit of this is through street epistemology. Now let's discuss what street epistemology is and isn't. What it's not. While there certainly is a place for debate about the content of beliefs and knowledge claims, that's not the intent of street epistemology. We don't all have time to become experts in counter-apologetics, but we can engage friends, family members, and even strangers in friendly dialogue about how they know what they claim to know. What it is. It's productive. It minimizes the danger of backfire effects that often occur when debating facts. It's a call to action. It encourages people to use reason and evidence in everyday interactions. It's about setting the example, remaining open to evidence and revealing truth by asking questions. We look for that glimmer of doxastic openness and encourage people to revise their beliefs when they discover that they've been using an unreliable epistemology. I'm sure many of you already are familiar with Socrates, but here's a quick refresher. He was a 5th century BCE Greek philosopher. We don't have any writings from Socrates himself, but we know of his teachings and methods from what was written about him by his students, primarily Plato. The 5 steps of the Socratic method can be considered the original scientific method, but applied to philosophical ideas. Plato relates how the Socratic method works in the Republic, during a conversation between Socrates and his interlocutor, Cephalus. Socrates asks, "What is justice? Why should we be just?" Cephalus proposes, "Living a just life means being honest and paying your debts." Socrates explores this by asking, what if you borrowed a knife from someone who then goes crazy and demands the knife back with the intent of committing harm? Should you be honest and tell him he's crazy? Should you repay your debt and give him the knife back? So is that an adequate definition of justice? I don't think so. That definition is rejected. Put less confidence in the rejected hypothesis and keep looking for a more adequate hypothesis that holds up under scrutiny. So how do we apply this method to street epistemology? In his book, Dr. Boghossian uses the Socratic method to question belief systems. We've created a dialogue map combining the stages of the Socratic method and the common strategies used by street epistemologists to uncover unreasonable beliefs. We'll walk you through this flowchart.
Over the next 5 slides, I will take you through the steps of the Socratic method combined with our suggested street epistemology interview process. I will show a clip from 5 different conversations we've had over the last 3 months with some very honest interlocutors. Even though we asked difficult and unusual questions, we learned something from each of them and they definitely earned our respect. Now, you're not going to witness any miraculous deconversions in these videos, but the idea is to plant a seed of reason in their minds for future consideration. The first step is wonder. Here, you start with an inquisitive mindset and build rapport throughout the interview. You're trying to find out what their belief is and how confident they are that the belief is true. In this clip, I asked Nick for an interview, but he's initially hesitant. After I explain what it's about, he's willing to talk. I build rapport by asking him about his field of study and relating to him that I'm on campus to meet and interview new people.
Excuse me. Hi, I was wondering if you might have 5 minutes to chat. I'm out here asking folks how they came to their God beliefs.
I have a CPA exam tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I just have 5 minutes on a timer if you have 5 minutes.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Have a good day. Good luck on your
What is it
exam.
for?
It's just a kind of a hobby of mine to understand how people come to their God beliefs and how they what kind of information they use to justify their beliefs.
Okay. Actually, it's kind of interesting.
Okay. All right. You want me to start the timer, and then
Yeah.
that way we can reevaluate. What's your name?
Nick?
Nick. I'm Lindsay.
Lindsay,
Nice to meet
nice to
you.
meet
Do you go to school here,
Yes,
and you're
yeah.
studying to be an accountant?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Well, good luck at that. I am visiting from Jacksonville,
Okay.
but we came down here to have a good place to talk to a wide variety of people.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm interviewing folks on how they came to their God beliefs. Do you have any God beliefs, or what are your God beliefs?
See, for me, I don't know. I guess I kind of just believe in the sense of karma.
Okay.
In a way, or like if you do
I talked to one other person today who
kinda
had a
say the same thing.
similar belief.
It's like if
So
you
how
do-
would you define that?
If you do well to others, then like going into like the afterlife and stuff like that, then good things will happen to you.
Okay. So you believe that there is an afterlife?
I would say yes, but I don't know. I would say like I'm not 100% sure one way or the other.
Okay. If you could pick a number between 0 and 100%, so 0 is no
Yeah.
belief in the afterlife, and 100% is total true believer in a specific religion's tenets, where would you be on that?
See, I'd be like right in the middle.
Right about a
I'm
50%.
like, yeah.
It's equally plausible or not?
I grew up like Roman Catholic.
Okay.
So I was a choir boy and everything.
That
but
definitely influences one's
Yeah.
beliefs.
After you know what they believe, you need to find out how they know this, their reasoning process. You then stitch together their hypothesis from the belief and method they give you. In this clip, Rachel says that she is 100% confident in the Christian God, and we need to find out what method she uses to make this knowledge claim. Originally, she says that the whole world is evidence of God's existence, but then she invokes faith. We call that the faith drop, or F-bomb. So Rachel is 100% confident that the Christian God is true by looking at the world and using faith. This is her hypothesis.
100.
Wow, 100. Okay. Can't go up from there. Oh, that's as far as you can go. So, so what puts you so high on that scale?
Well, I don't know. I guess everything I see around me just leads to just solidifies my belief that there is a God and He's the creator. And
So a creator God, and that Jesus Christ and God helped create the whole universe, and so that puts you at 100%. Is that the only thing that puts you that high, or
well, obviously there's no solid proof, I guess people would say, but it's my faith. I mean,
okay, faith. So what does faith?
definitely plays a big part of it.
What does
faith
faith
is-
mean to you?
Believing in something that I've never seen. I've never seen Jesus or I've never seen God, but I believe it's there.
So if faith is believing in something that you can't see, and you use that to become 100% confident in God, just to clarify, do you use faith for anything else, like in your ordinary, whatever you do in life? I mean, I'm assuming you're at a university and you're studying. Do you use faith for your studies, or just for your God belief?
The elenchus is the heart of the Socratic method. This is where you ask questions and provide counterexamples in order to uncover discrepancies with the interlocutor's hypothesis. Eva believes in demons and ghosts, and uses that as evidence that the Christian God also exists. When she's asked if her demons and ghosts could exist alongside Allah, she has a hard time accepting the contradiction. After the interviewer pointed out the contradiction, Eva revised her hypothesis and invoked faith as a way to know the Christian God is true. Now, faith is the real target of street epistemology, pretending to know something you don't know. Take special care to avoid discussing specific belief claims, such as whether demons and ghosts actually exist, and focus on the method of knowing something. It's about epistemology, not beliefs.
Okay, Ava, so if you and I were two people who wanted to know what the truth was, how do you think we'd go about finding, if we really wanted to be 100% sure, how would we go about finding which religion was true?
I guess you'd have to do a lot of research on it, but I don't know. I'm also, and this ties like completely separately, but I guess like you can't deny that like demons and stuff exist. you like, and I know this sounds weird, but like ghosts and stuff, like I feel like the fact that there's proof, I don't know if you believe in that, but proof that they exist, I can't feel like you can't deny that something else, like a higher spirit, would exist, like God, you know?
Well, I would say that I believe in true things, and I'm kind of skeptical about ghosts, I guess I would say, because I don't have any evidence. That's primarily how I work, off of evidence, you know. If I see something and it increases my confidence, then I start to believe in it. Or I guess I'm never definitive. I don't know, but if I've talked to a lot of people, and matter of fact, last weekend I talked to a Muslim who was 100%, and so I keep coming back to that. If we were going to try to find out which one was true, so that we could base our beliefs off of true things, how do you think we'd do that?
I guess that's
because do you think demons could exist and God be Allah?
I mean, I think it could exist. I don't know. I guess, like you said, I guess there's no like way you could prove it. I guess it's more than just your faith and how close you feel to God. But yeah, I don't.
So faith, huh? I've heard that before.
I mean, you can read, I don't know, like you said, you could read about every single religion. I guess it's hard to prove 100% that, yes, this is 100% factual truth.
After you've explored contradictions in the elenchus phase, you want to relate that back to the interlocutor's original claim and hope that they admit that belief revision is necessary. However, in my experience over the last few months, most believers are experts at denying that the contradiction exists at all. In the beginning of the interview, prior to what you'll see in this next clip, Joffrey told me about his belief that faith in the Christian God helped his mother survive a terminal cancer diagnosis. After I told him I was very happy his mom is still alive and well, I presented a few hypothetical situations to find out how we could know it was the faith which healed her instead of any other possibility. Even though the discrepancy was quite clear, Joffrey still denied the contradiction and claimed that faith is a reliable way to make decisions about the world. This cognitive dissonance is very common, and we can only hope to plant a seed for future reflections on our conversations.
One more situation, a third one, where say it was somebody who had the same diagnosis as your mom, did not believe, and they pulled through.
Oh, they pulled through?
How would you account for that in that situation? Do you think that could is that a possibility?
Sure, why not?
Okay,
Yeah.
and so again, how would you be able to differentiate between whether it was the faith or the medical care or maybe a partial misdiagnosis at the beginning? So I'm trying to find out from folks, and I've talked to lots of people, how would you be able to know it was the faith
versus luck
versus anything else? Because there's millions of possibilities, right, of what could happen.
Sure.
Maybe they had a slight misdiagnosis of the prognosis of her condition at the beginning, or there's so many different possibilities that I just haven't found from anybody how they would actually be able to know if it was true or not.
Yeah, I wish I had the answer for you. But I guess
I guess what my ultimate question is on that is then, is faith a good way to make decisions about the world if you can't know whether it was faith that had the outcome you wanted?
I would say yes.
If the interlocutor is doxastically open enough to admit their hypothesis is incorrect, then the final step is to act accordingly and revise their beliefs. In our next clip, I ask CJ if he is willing to revise his beliefs based on hypothetical new evidence. He previously told me that he abandoned his belief in prayer because it didn't work, so I try to relate that to his current belief in God. As you can see, CJ said that he would still fall back on his God beliefs as a safety net. While he wasn't willing to revise his beliefs, I hope this conversation planted that seed in his mind. Is there any evidence that you can think of that might change your belief on that?
Prove that,
like lower it a little bit, maybe to either just moderate or low to moderate? I mean, because you've mentioned that you do take evidence into account and reasonable arguments and things like that. So if there were some evidence, hypothetically speaking, I don't have it in my pocket or anything, that the universe had natural origins instead of supernatural origins, Would you revise your beliefs, your God beliefs, based on that?
If there was actual evidence that it wasn't real, I mean, that's hard. That's a hard one to answer. I don't know. I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've always been raised to believe that there is a higher power and there is the devil in hell. So I can say, I don't know. That's a hard one. I really don't know if there was actual evidence to prove that it wasn't real. I guess I'd say it was real. I probably use it as just like a safety net, just like, man, I know that evidence says that God isn't real, but deep down I'm going to believe that he is real.
Okay.
So I know that I can get this done and there is a plan for me.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your honesty, and thank you so much, CJ.
No problem.
The purpose of the dialogue map is to help the street epistemologist easily recall the main steps of the process. It's not meant to be a script or to limit you to this one pattern of dialogue. There are other street epistemologists out there who have developed their own methods and techniques, so I would encourage you to do what works for you. But if this does help you to have more productive discussions with people about their confidence in their beliefs, then we're happy to share. I'd also enthusiastically encourage you to read A Manual for Creating Atheists if you haven't already, as it gives you the full explanation for every part of the process and many examples of different conversations. In addition to A Manual for Creating Atheists, several street epistemologists are in the process of creating a website called streetepistemology.com, which will be a one-stop shop to find street epistemology resources. In the meantime, you can check out our YouTube channel at Socrates Jones or Anthony Magnabosco's channel. In addition to his street epistemology interviews, he's also made several breakdown videos where he stops the interviews and discusses good points as well as mistakes or missed opportunities. These are great for learning the street epistemology process. There's also a private Facebook group where you can go and discuss your interventions with other street epistemologists. There are also some exciting projects coming up in the future. Dr. Bogosian and his team are working on an interactive street epistemology app called Atheos. It's in beta testing right now, and we can't wait to put it to use. Also, some folks from the Facebook group are working on a short guide that compiles the best practices we've seen as people apply the principles in Dr. Bogosian's book. This should be published online sometime this summer, 2015. And finally, what about you? Are you inspired to learn more about street epistemology and engage believers in more productive conversations about faith? We hope so.